All right, so this is my integrity choices session. I actually had my integrity choices session on Monday this past week, and today's actually Saturday. So I don't know what I'm gonna say right now. I mean, I have an idea. I watched like both footage, like from my integrity choices session and then the integrity choices session. Um, that Fred had with Scott last week, and which wasn't planned. I also watched the session, which was a spontaneous session, not planned. Um, that Fred had with Scott just this morning while I was just watching my footage stuff and preparing to do my social sharing video. It was like 54 minutes or something like that. So I watched all of that. It was, just really was into it. So I don't know exactly what words I'm going to say, what I'm going to get into, what I'm not going to get into. But I just want to start off by saying this past week, there's so many breakdowns. It was a total mess. And I'm like 100% responsible for it. Not that I'm beating myself up. I'm just responsible at looking at all the things, all the breakdowns, where was I out of integrity and not my, I know I was on not my word on so many things. And that I promised Scott, that I promised myself, my own well being, and I only got like maybe 10% of it done. 90% of whatever the plan was with Scott that I'd scheduled out with him meticulously last week, I did not get done because and when I look back and I'm just kind of seeing this right now, is that for myself, as I'm sharing, is what was the source of the breakdowns? Yes, it could have been three, four things that I could have done that if I had done that, the breakdown wouldn't have happened. But the main source of it, as I see it, was me committing to too much, making one promise over another, over another, over another. At the moment, having good intentions and feeling inspired and feel like, yeah, I can do it. I want to do it. It's gonna I can do it all. And like I said, I didn't complete more than half of what I'd previously scheduled before with Scott, gave my word to, like with my own well being, legal stuff, other stuff. And then it's like I forgot that commitment and I made other promises and went in this whole other direction and then didn't complete that fully yet. So I had to repromise. Anyways, everything was a total mess. And so that's where I can take responsibilities, not pausing and really being mindful and aware of what promises do I have out right now. Should I be making any commitments or promises, no matter how urgent they may seem? Because as Scott reminds me, even be previously, Sameena, nothing is urgent, even though you may feel like something's urgent that I gotta get do it now. Yeah, but you made that promise with someone. You gotta fulfill on that first. Or, if this takes priority, then maybe you gotta first be in communication and ask him, listen, is it okay if I reschedule whatever? But that's not the point. But I'm just saying, like, I gotta honor those commitments first before making new commitments or new promises. And so that was my integrity choices this week. It was like one breakdown on top of another. And then I got burned out. And I just like at the end felt like doing nothing and beat myself up and, felt guilty. And that's not integrity according to the Integrity Choices Manifesto. So that's what I want to start off with saying is how I'm 100 responsible for the breakdowns that happened this past week. And the main source of it, as I see it, is just making too many promises without having fulfilled on the past promises first or honored them in some way. Now, I want to kind of take a step back here and just go as I was watching my own integrity choices footage from last week and getting present to, yes, I had a commitment because Scott created a plan with me. And he said, if I follow this plan through, I won't be in a crisis. I'm going to get my evidence in on time to the landlord tenant board, which I have this legal case with, as it's apparently was due today on the 4th, and I don't have it done, ready to send. because again, I didn't fulfill on those promises. I went in other directions because it felt like a good idea at the time. And I'm not saying that was wrong, but yeah, it was just a total mess. And didn't even end up keeping my present promises as well. So it's just totally like when you look at it, just like, I was kind of running around with a chicken with their head cut off, not even present to what had I previously promised. And how am I going to get this done honorably and get the result, whether it's for me, for my client, whatever, for my own well being. So, yeah, so the legal stuff did not get done. Today, I was supposed to start the video edits for my legal evidence. I guess that's not happening. Because there's something else that had to happen prior for me to be ready for these video edits. So, like I said, total mess. Didn't get that done. The one thing though I did get done, even though it was a couple days late in getting out, was the email to send to the legal aid lawyer to ask them some questions that I needed answered before I even can get started on some substantial stuff that I needed guidance on. And she responded right the next day. So I got that done, that out, and got the answers to my questions. And that's why I said I got probably only 10% of what I had previously promised in my integrity choices session done, and that was one of them. And then the other, promise was to, oh yeah, and this was actually one thing I saw for myself, and this was just in reviewing my footage. And that's why it's just so much value. That's why Scott has me review the footage every time I have my integrity choices session before I do my social sharing video, because so much that can come out and he can go so fast for sometimes you're not present, like how I wasn't present to what I committed to till I watched this video again. It was like, wow. And I just like got present to for myself. Yeah, I told Fred, by Thursday he'll have the get book to book others, like the sessions the footage broken down and on a page, so it's ready for him to send to people who, he wants to invite or are interested in want more information, get book to book others. And I told him I'll have that to him last Thursday, which I forgot about because that was, because, and again, one promise after another. So the offer thing came up where, he presented an offer. So I was working on that page, totally not present to what I'd committed to him first. So it's like I couldn't get both done. So shifted gears. But what integrity would do, according to integrity choices definition, what I should have said to Fred, I should have said to Fred, if you want me to work on this offer page for you to, for your client there, um then I would not be able to get two things done at the same time with and get book to book others. So, which is okay, but just know if I go in this direction, I won't be able to get the page of get book to book others done probably till when I promised. Are you okay with that? Right? Or do you want me to work on this first and put this off till like next week or whatever? I should have got his alignment and not assumed. So again, just making one promise commitment on top of another, not being present to the previous commitment I had made prior. Oh yeah, I'd also promised God during my follow-ups time is that I'll be working 1 hour in Fred's account, which we did, 1 hour in my account and 1 hour in his account. And I haven't been doing that consistently every day. I've been doing my 3 hour follow-ups, but again, not present. Oh yeah, I promised Scott 1 hour in his account, or even present it, but not being communication, letting him know. Hey Scott, you told me actually just focus on this account, but just know that that means that are you okay with me not doing your 1 hour on your account today, or you are not okay with it? You want me to just do that, then I won't be able to do both. Like just being in the communication, all the time. And so yeah, that wasn't done consistently. Sharpening the saw. I remember a few days ago, Scott sent this link to both Fred and myself about sharpening the saw. And then Scott actually brought up yesterday when we were debriefing. He said, I sent this link, remember, to you and friend. I said, yeah, I remember seeing it. He's like, did you open it up? Did you read it? And I said, no, I didn't. And he said, that is exactly the problem. You think you don't have enough time to actually open that link up and read it when that is the most important thing. That's why he was sending it to me. It's like, pause, take a step back. Stephen, whoever says it is Stephen Covey, you'll remember. Sharpening the saw is so important in business to stop and you need to sharpen the saw. So, yeah, I think I don't have enough time. And, I just like keep busy and keep on doing these tasks without really thinking. And then the video edit too, I did for Fred with, for his prospect. Scott watched it again. That's what my spirit says. I want his eyes on it, and it wasn't good enough. In fact, he said it was a terrible edit, probably the most, terrible ones I've ever done. And I know I'm not a bad video editor, and I couldn't even see how bad it was myself. That's how present I so was not, because I just had too many things I was piling on to myself at once and not focusing on what's the one major thing right now. Right. And so, anyways, that's fixed. God actually stepped in, offered to actually fix the edit for me, and kind of probably did it in maybe half an hour and it's good enough to put on the page for Fred's prospect on that Weebly page. But my whole point is, it's like I couldn't even be present to, oh, I'm not even achieving good quality work here because I got too much stuff to do. But I didn't even know. I thought the edit was good. I watched it. I thought it was good. I skimmed through it. Fred watched it. He felt it was okay, but it's up to me. I mean, to know if it wasn't good enough or not. But I couldn't even see that. So that's how not present I was, because I just had too much to do, too much on my plate, and not even present. First of all, my place, my office, apartment place, it's a total mess. It's been a mess for probably over a month. You know, it's like everything's all over the place. And I've always had the intention to clean it up, organize. Like there's just so much clutter around me. And that's from integrity. It's like in my mind, I feel like I don't have time to even clean my own physical space and live in just cleanliness because I'm so busy, right? And again, sharpening the saw, take a step back. That doesn't mean that everything has to be perfect in one day. What's something that I can do part of my physical space right now that doing it will help me get some clarity? Because it's all about having that clarity before I go into work on the important stuff. Otherwise, we get it done, but it won't, the, it just will not work out. The results will not be there. And that's, the main thing is getting results. What's the fastest way and the most effective way to get results? And it's hardly ever working long hours and suffering and working hard. And I know that, but knowing that sometimes just doesn't, have you change overnight. But it's just being aware, as I know Scott's right. I mean, I know that. And I've gone out of it at times, and, you know, um, focusing on that one thing and having fun, and then money comes in and I feel I have all this time, and then I go back into working hard, feeling like I have no time for anything. So it's time to kind of revisit, you know what's going on here in my mind, because it's all about the mind. And so that's why I just had to, kind of do some for myself that I wasn't very comfortable with doing, because it's so comfortable to just stay in this rat race or whatever you want to call it and just keep on working, and not be pausing and reflecting and looking at my own stuff here. Um so Scott helped me just be away from the computer for a bit, because computer is a reminder of work, and just like reflect. And he suggested, this is what I should do. And that's when I sent all these audios to Fred saying, this is, I'm making certain requests for my own well-being. I didn't want to do it because, again, the whole people like, no, I want to do this and we get this done for Fred. No, it's important. This whole dynamic of lack and fear and people pleasing came into play for me. But I knew in spirit Scott was right, even though I didn't want to believe it. I didn't want to do it, but I knew he was right. And so reluctantly, but I made the choice. I felt good about it. I had to just kind of get myself to rev up and feel good about it. So it wasn't reluctantly, so those wasn't not the right choice of words, but I just knew, okay, I wasn't, I had to like to take a bold stand, not just for me, but yeah, it would start with me, but also be for the other person too, because sharpening the saw, right? I need to have my clarity back. I need to have that well being and that focus back in order to be back to my best self for my client. And so to make these requests. Um, and he agreed to, and it was all related to my well being. And this is what's going to happen. And this is why, explaining why, not just dumping that on him. And so once that was done and out of the space, I felt relieved. And okay, today, I cleared my space. Thanks to Scott debriefing with me and seeing why I need to do this for myself. Otherwise, I'm just going to burn out and, you know, just, yeah, and you know what happens there. Just not get the result that way. Never work while you're, don't suffer. Don't get results while you're suffering, Abraham Hicks. And so that was my integrity choices. And it's for this week, we've structured things out completely where there's a lot of some space in between and focus and getting like so this week I have an appointment with Fred tomorrow where actually the most important thing is I'm going to share with him a piece of the story that he does not know, where it's now appropriate to share with him. Um, Including some stuff that, I have a non-disclosure agreement with Scott with not to share, whether just, it just would not be good to share out there. Not that there's anything secretive to hide, but just people's perceptions, branding, protecting the brand. But it's appropriate to share with our friend Fred now as he's so much invested, and it's good for him to know, and it's important for him to know this part of his story, and it's just the right time. And so it's getting back and share, and it's all connected to my ODSP thing, to everything. And that's another thing that came in today. It's like I got this spontaneous call today, June 1st, from the ODSP people, and I almost screwed up the call because I was not present. I actually told them I earned this much money when I didn't, and that could have very well disqualified me. Because yes, that kind of money came in May, but what I didn't say, and that was me, this was me like my memory not being reliable, is well, a portion of that money went towards business expenses. It wasn't really income, right? So I almost like blew that, you know, probably creating a lot of doubt with the lady or thinking I don't qualify. And it was just in how I communicated it. And I just got all like freaked out and in my mind and, felt threatened on the spot. And so, but it's all connected, in me not being present. Um, so yeah, sharing this story with Fred is all connected and just like having him because he's got the right to know, this integral, that's the right word, very intimate part of our journey, of how this is a sponsor, not just how this is a sponsorship, but the journey of, get booked, like, I don't know how to explain it, but just a part of the story, of how where I'm living right now used to be an office and, all that. Like it wasn't, I had a home where I was living with my parents, and then COVID happened, everything happened where I'm living here now and I can't go back home and all that. And how, and so he understands, even though he may trust, but it's important for him to understand that because integrity, right? What integrity do, right? Um, According to our definition, and just getting the context of why this is true. Like it's just structuring the payments in a different way and saying this, but it's not a lie, it's not a manipulation, it's true. And here's the story clarifying that this is true. It's just that now we have to get back to the story, and share that part. And so, I have a Zoom appointment with Scott tomorrow, and today was actually supposed to be my integrity choices session, but again, they had to postpone that because I made too many commitments on top of broken commitments. And so my integrity choices session is tomorrow, which is important for me to have first in order to plan for my integrity choices session for Fred for next week. So I'm going to be hopping on Zoom with Scott right after my 1 hour session with follow up call that I have with Fred. So it's 6:01. I'm like on the other Zoom link with Scott, and we're starting our my integrity choices session. And we're going to go over this story as, memory's not reliable, but it's going to be easy. I'm sure it's part of the story where I'm going to have to communicate, in the most effective, clear way possible I can to Fred. So he really gets a whole picture of this and why we're asking him this and can feel good about it. And this we can make a conscious decision. Yes, keep this in it, or no, take this out or reword it or whatever. It's like, collaborative thing. But he has to know the story first, the whole true story. Um, and so it's all everything, yeah, it's all connected. And another thing, oh yeah, and then on Sunday we're gonna meet at 5 p.m., 5 to 9, block out a 4 hour structure of time where the first 2 hours will be just getting all the payment stuff sorted out with his credit card, the bill stuff, so that's clear. And this way I feel more comfortable that he's there with me. It's screen recording, so he's seeing me, or he's doing it maybe on his end, entering his credit card to some bills, right? So he's like there with me, doing it with me, right? And getting all that cleaned up because that's part of integrity. That was, I think I had some bills that were due on the first and coming up that kind of went out to my personal account. So, which I didn't really budget for, but was okay because I thought the credit card would be hooked up. So I kind of, but anyways, it doesn't matter. But yeah, that was kind of, so just cleaning that up and making sure that's all back in integrity. And then sorting out, the wise thing, maybe testing that and doing that with Fred because I'm not comfortable doing that on my own. Like I have so much fears on, oh, am I going to lose my money? Or what if it's a fraud thing? It's just this paranoia thing. So doing it with Fred and having him say, checking it out with me, testing and making sure. And he says, yes, this is legit. And, I'm going to be more trusting to that than if I were to trust my own mind and do it on my own. So getting all that, like, that's the first 2 hours, just getting all this stuff cleaned up. And then the next 2 hours will be focused on Fred and getting whatever he needs to get done, whether it's admin or whatever. Right. So, yeah. And then also part of, is finishing a letter I have to someone that I promised Scott, we're working on to complete. And it's very important. It's all connected to my legal case, to my ODSP. And this has been in the works for like a number of weeks now. We just have to get it. I just have to get it perfect. It has to be like my voice to send out because it could have it could have like implications if it's not done right. And it is actually, speaking of telling the story, this letter is part of sharing my story, right? So people so there it needs to have a context, of just everything that happened. And it's just going to be really good even for the ODSP. So getting that done and out, it was supposed to be out probably by today or yesterday. That may or may not happen, but again, that's a broken promise. I promised Scott I would work on it, editing it yesterday. I didn't do that. So that's, gonna have to get back to that for myself for today and just re-promise on when I'm gonna get the Get Book to Book Others footage on the Weebly page for next week. So I'm gonna do that after I finish the offer thing for Fred, which I promised before I go to bed on Monday, then on because I have a call on Tuesday. So again, I'm making, yeah, just have to put on a Weebly page. So, Tuesday after my follow-up calls, we'll put those videos on the Weebly page, and make sure and they get sent out to someone that I promised at 5:30 you'll have it. So that's gonna get done. And yeah, and as you know, the plan with all the evidence from a legal case was supposed to be done by June 4th. Obviously, that's not done. So you have to, figure something out for that. Because again, it wasn't my word. I was in communication with Scott and it was a total mess and didn't stick to the plan. So just and also what Scott shared with me is that sometimes, it is okay to shift directions when appropriate. So in this, let me just share an example. Yes, a mess happened. I made too many commitments. Yes, that's true. And Scott said it's okay. We could always honor our word in a different way. So, Fred came with an offer. He had an urgent offer. He wanted to present an important offer to someone that was coming up. Thought it was June 2nd, but realized it was June 7th and wanted some help on how to present this offer to him. And so this was a real deal. And that's the whole idea still. So, the goal and priority, one of the priorities is to, help Fred get leads, support him in closing deal, like whatever, Scott said, like, help him close his first 10 grand deal. Like that's the intention. That's the game we're playing. So he came with a deal that was real right here in front of us. So it was appropriate to say, you know what, let's let go of my legal stuff right now, right? Fred is here. He's my client. Let's support him in closing this deal and shift gears. And I don't regret that, right? Because it was appropriate, because it was something that was real. Like I don't know what's going to happen with this legal stuff. Yes, the member insinuated the evidence is due in 30 days, but there's nothing like solid. So who knows? There's no certainty there. Yes, he said the 4th, but there's no certainty there. So let's shift our plans and help Fred right now and just know everything's going to work out, even though there are all these breakdowns. But it's not just like I made that decision on my own, because I had a commitment and a promise to Scott that this is going to be the plan. Tuesday, Wednesday, whatever, I work on all legal, just evidence stuff to have it ready to send out for Friday. And then Saturday, start the video editing with the evidence, with the rest of the evidence stuff, because a lot of my evidence or documentation is on video. I got to edit and take out the highlights from, because it's like 13 hours of video footage. And I just, and I got the advice from the legal aid lawyer. She said, well, you might not allow 13 hours of video or whatever if it's redundant. So she suggests just edit it and take some highlights out of it or whatever. I want to just share that support, what I'm saying, the story. But this is how it honored it, is because Scott and I were in communication. We talked about it and we both came to an agreement. Yes, it makes more sense. Let's put this on hold. We know we made a plan, but let's put the plan on hold because something more pressing has come and the deal is here for Fred right now. Let's help him with that. That's the whole point, right? And so we both agreed to that together because we're in communication. And so it's okay sometimes to, sometimes not everything goes according to plan, as we know. And it's okay sometimes we may make a plan, we have a structure, But sometimes it may make sense to say, if something, say there's a deal, this is, I'm just using this example, or another is something else, may say, okay, you know what, this is more pressing right now. It makes more sense for me to do this, but I'll still honor my word and get that done in another way. And if it's a promise out to someone else, then we'd be in communication, get and make sure we talk and get their alignment as well. So that's what happened. Yes, there were breakdowns. There's a mess. I realized made too many commitments at once and wasn't in communication with Scott. And I'm responsible, for the breakdowns. And so, yeah, so it's not like integrity is locked into your word. Sometimes it makes integrity is also okay. Let's do, this is here right now. Let's do this. We need to get it done, or it could have an impact on Fred losing money if we don't help him with this. Right. So that's what, and I made a choice. Both made a choice, and just saying we made a choice to change gears, to shift gears, and it was a choice. Right. So there's always, like I said, as I got training from Scott in life, we're not always going to be able to keep our word, but we can always, it should be no excuse that we can always honor our agreements and honor our word. Maybe not the way we made it, but in a different way. And that's just, I think, a more higher level. Honor our word, whether it's starting with being in communication with that person. If we made a promise to that person, how we're going to honor it or re-promise it, right? So yeah, because as I learned from Scott, all we have, whether in life and business, is our word. And I do want to become a better communicator. I want to become a person who someone relies on to be their word, honor their word. Like Scott's an example of that. And I do want to live that way, joyfully, right? And not suffer through keeping my word, because that's not integrity either. So there's a lot. Yeah, I guess this was my integrity choices session this week, and this is what I got. So I think that's it for me for now.